Hi guys, how are we doing? It's Tuesday now and it's the 28th. Wow, this month has gone quick. We can see here, we're going to start off with Euro. I've kind of compiled a bit of a watch list that I was looking at over the weekend. Often if I don't post, obviously on a Sunday or Monday, it just simply means I don't really have too many setups. I'm not just going to put something out there that isn't useful or applicable information. Now, obviously, we started off with last week thinking about the retracements that we probably caught 100 pips here, there, and everywhere on a couple of the US dollar pairs and the Japanese yen pairs, especially on kind of that EJ and that GJ from that nice breakout. Now, obviously there was a lot of volatility last week, to be honest. That geopolitical stance out in Australia, where you can't attain for that government doing whatever the government does when 15 people quit in a day and then they suddenly sack a prime minister and get a brand new one in the very next day. So there's things like that you simply just can't account for. But in terms of technical analysis, it pretty much all played out, but then it all reversed on us on like the Thursday and the Friday. So it was a strange week. It was a strange week. It was about a break-even week for me. Japanese yen pairs, those catching those breakouts that we did highlight at the start of last week definitely saved me. EA got me back, and then just catching a couple of those US dollar retracements on the Thursday before Friday, blowing my profits again, stopping at break even. So yeah, a bit of a strange week last week. But if we do come into this week, because this is what's important, now we've got Euro USD, which is crucial. Now that is one big reversal formation. That is a huge reversal formation here. You've got one, two, three pin pattern, a huge hammer. I can't believe I didn't see that hammer properly last week. And then we've obviously had the follow through breaking back above the MA. Now that's the first time we've broken back above that 8 EMA there since kind of April. Since April there. So it's a long time coming. And yeah, you've only got to look at things like gold to understand that we've been selling off for such a period of time now that this thing is due some form of retracement. Now, I personally cannot ignore this big morning star here, and I do like the fact it's come off 1.1450, such a major level of support. I had big line setups coming off of 1.12 to go long, but it's almost as though the moves happened one move too early for myself. Often something that I can do. So if we come into this daily time frame and we start analyzing what we're doing now, essentially we are approaching this descending trend line. Now this is going to be pretty crucial. In terms of trend line structure, I'm not that interested. I was going to see if it reacted, but it hasn't so far. The dollar index just keeps declining. So what we are looking for is a push back up into this region. This region of in and around 1.17450, 1.1750 is going to be the region that we do actually look for either short positions out of the resistance or we're going to break below it. It's as simple as that. Now, unfortunately, with those short positions, you may have fibs set up, you may have big long targets, but that's not something that we're actually going to be looking for. We're going to be looking for retracements back into here. Best case scenario, we come into here and we could create this inverses head and shoulders. Now that's what I was hoping for at the start of the week. When we started here, I was looking for the retracement back into the zone off that 50 EMA, back into here before going higher. But unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but we've just smashed straight through and the price doesn't look like it's going to exhaust itself in any way, shape or form. So at the moment, the Euro USD weekly is holding such a strong weight to the upside. If you like to use trend lines, I would suggest that is your true trend line price. Something like that. This is quite news related and difficult to actually account for, and therefore we are currently breaking on it on probably the lower time frame. So I am looking for now that push up in towards that area that has previously caused supply and liquidity zones up here, and therefore I'm not too bothered about that. So what I will be looking for is now the push up into this region, a potential sell-off, and then I will be looking to buy from lower pullbacks, or any pullbacks I will be looking to buy from. So whether we pull back in towards 1.1650 or whether we pull back in towards 1.15, I will only really be looking to try buy this thing from now on. If we do break above here and close on a daily time frame, I'm again not interested, because unfortunately we've sort of missed the move. We missed the move unless you caught obviously the retracement and held the retracement back up here. There isn't really a position size on this at the moment. So for me to actually consider a long position, if we just continue this bullish movement, I'm going to need to see a break above here. 1.179. 1.179 is going to have to be the daily breaking closure above for me to consider an entry to go straight long in towards 1.2. Now 1.2 is going to be a critical boundary here. Now whether or not we rebound from 1.2, we can have to deal with that scenario when we get to it. But at the moment, that is predominantly what I'm looking at. I favour, obviously, pullbacks. Having had a very, very extended rally, this was news related or DXY related, nothing really going on here. But the way that the MAs are crossing over, price has fully broken that 50 now, and we are surging to the upside. I don't necessarily see this thing stopping. We've got a lot of news related events in the start of September as that seasonal shift comes, that seasonal change. And essentially, Trump came out and just called the European Union out, called the pound out, and just saying, you're manipulating your own currency, mate. You are manipulating your currency to such a low price that he's trying to obviously lower his price because of the trade negotiations and how more people are able to profit in that type of an environment. Whereas we are such a low price currently that we are so investable. And he basically called everybody out on that. And therefore, we saw the sudden surge pushing to the price higher. Now, in terms of market liquidity, we've never really seen that a prime minister is going to affect what the Federal Reserve does as a decision. But that is currently what is occurring. And we've got to adapt to that type of scenario and adapt to that market. I've seen a couple of reports from items like Goldman Sachs, and they also support a similar scenario that we look for maybe potentially 2 more interest rate rises in September and December for the US dollar. However, most of this move has potentially been priced in. We could probably get the pullbacks on maybe fib zones to go higher. But there. So I'm just blabbering on. But anyway, there's a lot of fundamentals behind this, unfortunately, rather than the technicals ruling out. But from a technical perspective, that weekly time frame is looking incredibly bullish, and we are looking to now potentially drive higher. We will either bounce off of here, pull back, and then go higher, or a daily, let me write this down so no one gets confused. A daily candlestick would have to break above here. So bear in mind, that is just if we continue. If we just continue in a bullish manner, we'd have to close somewhat like that above on a daily time frame for me to consider long entries. And even then, I'd like to see at least a little spike and retest, or at least a spike and retest here. So daily break and closure would have to be above 1.1790 to then give me the long position if we don't pull back. So hopefully that's clear. USD CAD, unfortunately, was a fantastic trade yesterday, but it was the only real trade available, and I wasn't going to put just one video out. I put a lot of effort into these. So singular wick highs, singular wick lows, extremely strong points of touch. We can see that essentially, I think people were maybe not accounting how big and how strong this was. The last time we saw a candle like this was up at here. Or something like that, and then look what happened after. Just look what happened. So the only reason the US dollar was slow against the Canadian dollar is predominantly because of that US dollar strength. But right now we are seeing how price is reacting, and we can see that the strength is really pushing us to the downside. So this was my favorite trade. I managed to grab a position off of the high up here. Unfortunately, we won't be able to get in this together. But this was my trade setup. Now, if I talk about my trade setup and I talk about the position as to why, we can see that obviously, coming down to the downside, we obviously had the reaction here. There's your big reversal reaction out of that Fibonacci. So we did have the A into B, the 61, 4 touches with the wicks, and then the reversal price, evening star, huge evening star, and then we got the triple MA cross upon the retest up here. 131, massive level. We can see it time and time again. Price points like this are responding to 131 massively. So USD CAD, not going to spend too much time on it, but yeah, there was your reaction. Then we had the retest on the Monday of that higher region, of the higher spike, singular wick high, reaction, entry order off of that, again, off of that daily 50 EMA, massive moving average. If you haven't put that on there just yet, only use it on a daily time frame, and it's a great support and resistance upon trending movements. I may do a new video on that. But yes, a shooting star yesterday, break through the overall descending trend line. Now, yes, you may have missed that on this move, but I truly believe right now that if we confirm a break below here, which essentially we did yesterday. We had a nice shooting star below here. All the MAs are starting to cross. The weeklies are starting to come together as well. We could sell off in towards 128, if not lower, and then pull back. Now, it's that pullback that will be our best opportunity for a sell. That will be the best opportunity for a sell. So USD CAD now remains on my hit list for the next 6 months. For the next 6 months, USD CAD is remaining on it. And the reason why is if I pull this up, I've got this beautiful fib here. Phenomenal fib. Now look exactly where we're coming off, 71. My golden level now that I put that in there for everybody. 71, huge tweezer top, bearish engulfing, Marubozu shooting star coming off the 71 in a market condition that if we've moved, obviously this amount in here, we're going to move this amount in here, and we could be looking at the first signs of this huge leg. And now this ascending trend line that everyone was sticking to now becomes our counter in the overall move that we've had. Now this may look ridiculous, but in the grand scheme of things, let me come to a monthly just so it's a little bit easier. That drop in price isn't too far-fetched, and you see how 1.15 would be a beautiful region for this thing to actually find a potential base and a level for the pair to consolidate before maybe starting a new leg to the upside. So that is what my opinion is on USD CAD, and that is why for the next 6 months that will be nothing but USD CAD on my watch list week in, week out, and to sell any of the pullbacks. This is a beautiful little wedge formation. As soon as this wedge falls out as well, I mean, there's multiple things we can do here. We can also measure the height of this. We can look for the distance upon the breakout, and we can see that that brings us exactly into 1.22. As one confirmation, we've also got this scenario in terms of this channel. As soon as we break out of this, we can look towards here. That could be another setup back in towards these lows in and around 1.2500. So USD CAD, make sure that's on your watch list for the next 6 months, like I say. And essentially the move's done here. But what we could do, I don't believe this is actually going to cause too much of a support, to be fair. I think we're going to smash straight through. And if we do smash straight through, the first target to be looking for retracements, because that's what we're basically looking at now, is retracements. Is going to be looking around 1.2850, but if we're going to come there, we're probably going to fulfill this and maybe hit this level down here. So that's going to be my downside target on this, actually come and fulfill this previous level of support and letting the price actually come to me and then pull back up into here. So that's going to be the trade setup. Now, whether that comes through this week, next week, it's probably going to be the same thing that I'll talk about next week anyway. But I'm looking for that type of a move, and then we look and deal with the scenario upon a retest of 1.29150. So USD CAD, that's a good little breakdown there as well. Euro CAD is something that I adore. I absolutely adore. Give it that. If we look at this, we've got this beautiful channel here. So there's a couple of scenarios. Even if we popped higher, that's not an issue. We could be looking for 1 touch, 2 touch. If we did have a 3rd touch up into the highs here, then yeah, that wouldn't be an issue. We could look for the reversal signs out of there. However, we've also got this fib in here that I do prefer, but we've also got this fib as well. So we've got the 71 being tested in alignment with the 50 EMA. So we may actually be considering that position. I would have just loved for the 152 to be hit, but it doesn't look like we're going to go and hit that level just yet. We are starting to weaken. So we've got a small shooting star. It's not because it's not red in body. However, the formation is starting to occur. If we can start to follow through with some bearish price action here, we're going to see a nice 3-pin pattern on the 71 at the daily 50 EMA, which is a massive resistance at the huge monthly level of resistance as well. And we could be looking for a big decline in price. I'm talking a big decline in price. So yeah, Euro CAD is a favored one of mine. If I do look at the 4-hour time frame right now, I am accounting for maybe this little break of counter trend line could be considered an entry, but I really want a test up here. I really want to reject out of this level, and then that's where I short, because at least I've hit the bigger time frame fib. I've hit the larger time frame fib, and therefore I've got no worry. Even if it pushed to that 71, 50 pips higher, I've got no concern because it's hit my overall fib, and then it's probably just going on to the trend line. But right now, it's a very good position as well. I would like to see slightly more confirmative price action. We are just stalling in and around that type of a level at the moment, and therefore I do need to see a little bit more. So do keep that on your watch list as well. A daily time frame. Let's just say we got this shooting star here and we got that here. That would be a beautiful entry or a beautiful scenario. Just wait for the overnight price to pop itself back up to test the 61 and then go. That's something that we really should look out for on Euro CAD. I do like that massively. Euro CAD, very big fan of that. Definitely on my watch list. Something like Euro Aussie dollar. Yeah, interesting that we've spiked into the highs. We've spiked into the highs now, and we are still in relation to this. I'm taking a step back from this. This did stop me out, and it triggered a few sell orders, and then they got stopped out as well. So I took a bit of a beating on this last week, because obviously we were all selling from here, and this thing just blew up. Absolutely blew up. But what's important here is the fact that the weekly struggled to close above. Can you imagine how many stop losses were placed above here? So many stop losses. So yeah, it's a massive spike through. We can see multi-wick rejection highs now. 1, 2, 3 bearish price action to pull us back down. Yesterday was just is what it is. And then we've seen today push ourselves back in towards that wick region high on the 4 hour and start to form a little bit of slowdown in price. But there's no real evidence right now. What I would consider is maybe an entry below this type of a region 1.5880. So I'd like to see an entry back below here. But in terms of the fib overall movement, we are still within it in terms of a bigger time frame. You've still got a move like this, A, B, C, 71, 71, 71, and then we could look for the decline. But it's not moving that cleanly at the moment, and there's huge consolidation around 1.5600, which I probably should have been a bit smarter on and taken some profits. But now we're back up at the highs. There's only, obviously I love to sell off at the highs, so I am definitely keeping that on my watch list as well. New Zealand's cool. So US dollar pairs, I might get to them in a second. Dollar index essentially is crumbling. Sometimes you've got to reevaluate and you've got to see things for what they are. This is a big evening star. Let me get rid of this. This is a big evening star. You've got the shooting star, you've got the evening star momentum, and we are currently closing back below that MA. If I take a fib from here into here, we are currently rejecting off the 61.8. Now, this could be the start of a big decline over the next 18 months, year or so, and we could end up all the way down here in and around 8.4. That does predominantly line up with the previous highs over here as well. So it looks pretty good. Now, don't get me wrong, I, like probably most of you as well from previous videos, would have loved to hit 98 for the decline, but sometimes you just got to see what it is. This consolidation, final pop-up, and then the rejection and reaction is what we're seeing right now. So dollar index is driving a lot of these US dollar pairs, and if this thing does start to decline, if we are going to break out of this channel in here, again, the same scenario. How can we find a potential destination? We're looking around 92.50, and then does that line up with anything? 92.50 does come in alignment with this previous low in here, and obviously the spike in there. So that could be where we eventually get to, obviously forcing these other pairs much higher. So that's the dollar index in there. Now, if I look at GBP AUD, this was a favored one of mine as well. Following that, I've just written an article on it on Everything FX. You can see here how, again, this is slightly tweezer topped. Tweezer topped, MAs are all still pushing to the downside. Shooting star. If I come to the daily time frame, we are still making those series of lower highs. 1, 2, 3 with the descending trend line, with the big reaction, tweezer top bearish engulfing coming off of that. Oh god, I do apologize. Bear with me 1 second. Right, I'm back. So yes, G8, we can see that we are still making these lower highs. And then this huge bearish engulfing with the tweezer top out of the supply zone up here as well. So I'm still in favor of this bearish move, especially when you do stick something like this on as well. We can see all that we did was reject the 71. The 71 in the exact singular wick low as well. God, I'm good. But yeah, singular wick low, supply zone, tweezer top reversal, third touch of a trend line. Everything looks fantastic with that. Now what I've done, I'll just do it on an 8 hour because it might be a bit easier to see. I'm looking at this left shoulder, head, and potential right shoulder to break that counter trend line. So if I get price pushed up in towards this region here, that is what I'm favoring. This is again one of my favorite ones to look at this week, if not into next week. And then that will be the type of trade scenario that I'm looking for. Now I have to see some form of rejection from that region. The other setup on this is obviously if we just break the counter trend line today at some point. I know we've got 1.7500 there, but I don't think that will be too much or hold too much relevance right now. The MAs are all starting to cross over, and we are seeing price action being beaten down, especially by that weekly MA here. Beating it down. We've almost had the third spike already. So I would love to see a push up into this high. That would be the perfect entry. I've even got an order set on exactly the 61 there to retest that type of a level. 1.76100 is my entry order on that. But I will be monitoring this throughout the day as well. I do believe there is bearish price action in this at the moment, but I'm looking for a push into a right shoulder high and reaction and rejection for a reversal back to the downside. And that is GBP AUD. Now EJ and GJ. If we do get onto some of these, this thing's just never going to stop by the looks of it. I was looking for the retracements. It was almost too good to be true, and it sort of turned out that way. So if I look at Euro JPY on a weekly time frame, again, this is a huge, huge reversal. 1, 2, 3, Morningstar. It's just a huge, huge reversal, and I don't expect to see price back down here anytime soon. From this level 130, the way that price has reacted, I don't think this is going to have any chance of pulling back just yet. Not from 130 anyway. What I do expect is now that we've broken this descending trend line is probably to go and hit here and then up towards 132. Now 132 has been a long-term area of support and resistance. Massive support and resistance. So it's going to be predominantly this area up here that actually causes any form of reaction for us to find an entry. So I'm going to put that out there. That's where I believe price can get to. The same thing that I was doing on, I believe it was Euro USD. For me to find an entry on this at the moment, I'm going to need to see a break above there. A daily break above this region. A daily break above this region in here. And then I can consider that nice 150 pips back up into that level there. But for now, I'm sitting on my hands with this trade. It was such a bullish reaction that I'm just going to have to let this thing play out. I don't see much more going on from that. If it pulls back, I believe it will only be a pullback. I'm not interested in selling this thing off any length of time. If anything, it might pull back to here. It might pull back, best case scenario, into here. Let me get rid of this. It's annoying me. But essentially, after that weekly strong closure, this thing could pull all the way back to here, and I'd still be bullish on it. It's a very, very big, strong reversal. And until price action tells me otherwise, I'm going to have to stick to it, because essentially that's all I've got to go with at the moment. There's no fibs really involved in this. There's no reversal kind of formations occurring at these resistance levels. So everything that I am looking at is a continuation, either a retracement and a buy off the pullbacks. I'm either going to look to buy for this position in here. I'm going to look to buy for this position in here. But essentially, I need that daily breaking closure above 132.75 to actually consider an entry for this if I was going to take this thing any higher. Now, finally, what am I looking at? Something like GBP JPY. Again, I'm still favoring a bit of a push up in towards 144. Nice singular wick supply zone over here. So we could drop a little bit lower. However, I do like the singular wick, the first original singular wick where we've had the reaction. What's super interesting on this is if I close that, on the weekly time frame, you can see how we are in this kind of this channel wedge type formation. But however, exactly a year ago, almost to the exact date, we were here, forming almost the exact same kind of price action in the exact same formation, in the exact same type of volatility. And you can see that we've had 1, 2, 3, 3-pin pattern, push higher, 3-pin pattern, huge push higher, 1, 2, 3, Morningstar, 3-pin pattern, all off of that 140 kind of a level. And therefore that type of a region in here, what just happened? That right now is what I'm looking at in terms of pushing actually much higher, probably towards 147.50 upon any real type of movement. I was looking for some pullback here, but you got the nice little hammer here. Nice little hammer here. I'd expect this to go basically just blow itself out straight to that region of 147.50. So again, I'm looking for any pullback opportunities. My ideal, I was lining this all up because of the shooting star here. I was lining this up to actually pull back into here to then long it, because it came in alignment with a fib. But right now, I'm probably going to be having to look for any pullbacks upon 142.50 to actually take this thing higher as well. So that's a roundup of quite a few there. I've done USD CAD, Euro USD, Euro CAD, Euro AUD, New Zealand dollar. Do be aware that we are breaking this lower channel here, and we could actually be in the start of a whole trend reversal here with the New Zealand dollar. That is something to be fully aware of. MAs, look at those MAs upon that break there, beautiful. 4 hour, we are starting to close above. Probably have to see a break and closure above that resistance zone in there. There's nothing really wanting me to short this. If anything, it's a pullback. What you can see here, you can see I was expecting the pullback. We didn't quite make the pullback. We rejected a little bit early and then pushed higher. So I was expecting maybe a double top and pullback, but we didn't get that at the moment. I now need a break. Let me just get rid of all these lines. I hate too many lines. I now need a break and closure above here, probably on the daily time frame. A nice hammer here would indicate a quick, rapid response. Firstly, probably, well, to be honest, all the way back towards 0.6850. So that is my opinion. If we do break here on a daily break and closure, we will probably accelerate all the way straight towards 0.6850. If anything, come up to the 50, pull back towards here, and then go again. So that is what I'm expecting on New Zealand dollar as well. Is there anything else? Anything else that is of interest to myself? Nothing Japanese yen, nothing exotic. US dollar. I haven't looked at GBP USD. GBP USD is still heading towards 1.3. I think again I was looking for the pullback to go higher, but we haven't quite had that. So 1.3 is on the cards, and finally Aussie. Aussie's just off. Aussie's off. I think this hammer here was a big fuck you to everybody. Exactly where I called it, and it just turned itself around and said, nope, no more short positions, and we took off. So I should have been slightly more aware on that hammer. Nice 3-pin pattern reversal, pushing to the highs, and then this is probably going to come retest that 0.74. If not, come and retest 0.7440. No surprise if we didn't come and retest 0.7440. So guys, that's it from me. I'll probably catch up later on in the week as more positions arise. But yeah, right now, maybe a little sit on the hands. If I come back to my weekly watch list, USD CAD, keep an eye on that. Any pullbacks we can probably sell off of. Euro USD, I'm looking for a push up into this region. Euro CAD, again, we're looking for that sell off in there. Euro Aussie dollar, any type of reversal, maybe even off that singular wick high up here. Something like that. We may push a little higher towards 1.5900 or 5950 and then sell off. New Zealand dollar, I'm looking for the break above there on a daily time frame. Dollar index is going to be the main driving force behind all of this. If I come back on this, I would actually like to see this push up. I would have loved to have seen this push here because that comes in alignment with all my retracements to then sell off. So just bear that in mind. If you want to mark that up on yours, that could be something that I'm looking at. GA, let's look for that. That's probably your star watch list one. GA, push up into the resistance high, supply zone, and then sell off. And then EJ, GJ, I would love to buy off any pullback. So guys, trade safe, and I'll catch up with you soon.